Today, you will be understanding Webb's depth of knowledge so you can use your work and link it to the proof of standard sheets that your teacher would like you to use. So what is Webb's DOK? Webb's DOK is a theory of learning, and you'll see that there are 4 levels. There's the level of recall and reproduce, level of skills and concepts, the level of strategic thinking, the level of extended thinking. As you go up from 1 to 4, the depth of knowledge becomes increasingly more complex. So the recall and reproduce level is really the beginning entry level. You know the skills, you know the concepts, you can talk about them, but that's about all you know. It's very basic. So I equate this to learning basketball. So here is an example of somebody at the level 1 of basketball.
First time dribbling. He's 25 months old. Daddy, dribble. Dribble. Oh, gee. Are you okay? Are you okay?
So as we get into level 2, you understand the basic concepts and you can start applying the skills to the actual product that you're trying to accomplish. So in this case, there's actually a basketball game, and the student has now learned how to dribble and how to do a layup. It's basically the skill of basketball. Pretty simple, and it's easy to understand that way. Now, as we move up to strategic thinking, we get into a much higher level of understanding of the game. It's not just going down the court and applying the skill of a layup. It is now understanding the situation that you're in and being able to adapt to that situation. So in this case, when we look at the video, it's not just the layup. There are more people, there are more circumstances, it's more complex.
Marcus Morris with the basketball trying to slide it into front. They will take the turnover.
Now, at the last level, rarely will the state ever ask you to get to this highest level on any test. As a matter of fact, they won't, because this is a very unique situation. It's applying the skills that you have learned into a very unique and unexpected way of using that knowledge. So it's not just understanding the rules of basketball. What they've done is they combine basketball, in this case, with a trampoline to make it much more of a different product. Same game, but a very different outcome.
Here he is.
So now you're getting a basic understanding. You go from the level 1, which is very, very basic, to the level 4, which is basically a very creative way of understanding to show your depth of knowledge. You can't change these concepts unless you truly understand them and truly internalize them. So how does this apply to a learning standard? So looking at this standard, this is one of your standards in 7th grade. It's about informational reading, grade 7, and it's the 9th standard. Is to analyze how 2 or more authors writing about the same topic shape their presentations of key information by emphasizing different evidence or advancing different interpretations of facts. Now remember, these are the 4 levels. This standard and all standards are not created equal. Some standards are written to be a level 1 standard, some are written to be a level 2 or 3 or 4, or whatever it may be. So let's explore this one a little bit more. So at the level 1, this standard in and of itself is not written for level 1, but you can use these to have building blocks. What I mean by that is that if you don't know the basics of what they're even asking, then you can't get to a level 3 or 4 or whatever they might be asking here. So in this case, you might just be able to identify the 2 authors you're going to use, what topic you're going to use, and be able to read the concepts. So a question at level 1 to see if you understand this standard might be which two authors did you choose to analyze? You're just giving names. It's very simple. You're recalling information for the teacher. So at level 2 in the skills and concepts, this standard is not written for a level 2 format. In this case, you would be reading the content, drawing out your understanding from each author. So a question at level 2 might be, what tone do you get from each author about the topic? You are not analyzing them together. At this point, it's still just one, and you're understanding basic information on the tone of the writing. Now, at level 3, in my opinion, and I would sometimes know that teachers will argue with me on this, this is a level 3 question. This standard is written to be presented at a level 3. So if you're doing something for your teacher, she would want you to make sure that this standard is hit at a level 3. So at this point, you'll be analyzing both or all the authors by comparing and contrasting them. So a question might be at level 3, how does author 1 set up a different tone from author 2 and cite specific examples to show how the two differ? So when you're looking at this, you really have to analyze the statements of the authors. You have to then find where they link together, and then you have to make sure that you make those connections. Now, like I said, a level 4 standard doesn't exist in Ohio. So in this case, when we're looking at the extended thinking, this standard isn't there. But for almost any standard, you really can go to that level 4, because remember, you're taking what you've learned and creating something new. And when you look at this, you'll see that the question that we have down here is, if the same two authors wrote about the COVID-19 shelter in place, but they were asked to work together to write one article, what would it look like? There really is no right answer. But based on your information and how you see each author, you can make an educated attempt at how that would look. Does this exist in real life? No. Should your extended thinking product look the same as anybody else's? No way. You're a unique individual with unique thoughts on these authors. So if you were to create this one article by using the two styles that the authors are here on a topic that's very current, it should look completely different for everybody. It's a very creative way of moving to that next level. Now here's your chance. Here's a question. What is your interpretation of this text? Now, without knowing the text at all, just because of the verbs that are used in this with interpretation and whatnot, what level do you feel that this text or this question is meant to address? Level 1, 2, 3, or 4? If you've guessed level 3, you are correct. You could stop the video at this point and talk with your neighbors or your teachers about this, but this is where I feel that this question falls. Next question. Who was the author? Is this a level 1, 2, 3, or 4? Again, during these questions, please feel free to stop and discuss these with a teacher or a peer online to see if you agree, and if not, then you can have that discussion. Here's another question. Apply information from one text to another text to develop a persuasive argument. Not really a question, but level 1, 2, 3, or 4. Ready? That's a level 4, because you're making your own argument based on what you know. Nobody's going to have the same argument as you specifically, so it's a unique situation. What is your interpretation of this text? Support your rationale. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Next question. How would you classify these two authors? Ready? Classification usually falls into level 2s. Now, what are the next steps? I think step 1 is to get familiar with your standards. Understand what they're looking for. Some of these are not written very easily to understand, so you may have to take some time to break them down a little bit. I'll have you know that when I worked with teachers one time, it took 2 hours to break down one standard. It's called unpacking the standards. I don't think you have to go that deep. I think you just have to understand the basic concept and realize that for every standard, you can get through every level of Webb's DOK. Step 2, discuss these with your peers and your teacher to determine those levels and see if you can come to a consensus on what level these standards are at. The next one is determining how your work will show your knowledge at the level that's required. So it's very easy to look at somebody else's work to determine what level they're at, but I think it's harder for you to determine your own. So if you write a paper, are you showing me a level 1, 2, 3, or 4 understanding of that topic? And then as you get into this, there's a link. We want you to link your work to the proof of standard sheet. And here's a video tutorial right here that you can go through to see how that's done so you can submit it to your teacher. And then you'll get more feedback from your teacher at that point. So good luck with this. It's not the easiest thing to understand, but it's something that if you spend time, your depth of understanding of Webb's DOK will come. Thank you very much for your time.